Welcome to 7th grade math. A lab. Cut 2 paper plates into 4 equal pieces, each to show 2 divided by a quarter. So we have 2 paper plates, and we're going to cut them into 4 equal pieces to show 2 divided by 1/4. So if we cut them both into fourths or quarters, that's what we end up with. How many quarters are in 2 plates? Well, if we look at the drawing, you see there's 4 in each plate, so there's 8. How would you model 3 divided by 1/2? Have 3 plates and cut them each in half. And what is true about 3 divided by a half and 3 times 2? So 3 divided by a half and 3 times 2. They are equal. Scaffolding questions. How many quarters are in $3? So there's a quarter, and it is 1/4 of a dollar. So if we have $1, how many quarters are in $1? It would be 4, right? 1 divided by a quarter is 4. So in $3, if we have 3 divided by a quarter, we're going to get 12. How many dimes are in $2? Is a dime. Dime is 1/10 of $1. So $1 divided by 1/10 is 10. So if we have $2 divided by 1/10, we're going to have 20. How many half dollars are in $2.50? There's a half dollar, and it is half of a dollar. So $1 divided by 2 half dollars is 2, or by half is 2. So if we have $2.50, 2.5 divided by 1/2 equals 5. Those coins on the left underneath the dollars or quarters. Using patterns, complete the table on the right. So we have 8 times 1/2 equals 4, and 8 divided by 2 equals 4. 24 times 1/4 equals 6. So how could we rewrite that in division? 24 divided by 4 equals 6. If we have 21 times 1/3 equals 7, how could we rewrite that using division? 21 divided by 3 equals 7. And 15 times 1/5 equals 3. We could rewrite that using division. 15 divided by 5 equals 3. What do you notice about the answers in both columns? They are the same. The product on the left equals the quotient on the right. Use a pattern from the table to fill in the following blanks. 3/4 times 1/3 equals 3/4 divided by 3. 3/4 times 3/1 equals 3/4 divided by 1/3. 2/3 times 1/3 equals 2/3 divided by 3. 2/3 times 3/1 equals 2/3 divided by 1/3. Write a rule for dividing fractions. Dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its inverse. Dividing 8 by 2 gives the same result as multiplying 8 by 1/2, which is the reciprocal of 2. And remember, the reciprocal is a fancy word for the inverse. In the same way, dividing 4 by 1/3 is the same as multiplying 4 by the reciprocal of 1/3, or 3. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. 8 times 1/2 equals 4. 2 and 1/2 are reciprocals, and we get the same result. 4 divided by 1/3 equals 12. Or we could write 4 times 3 equals 12. 1/3 and 3 are reciprocals. We could state 3 as 3 over 1, but we don't need to in this case because 4 is in a fraction. And we get the same result. Is this pattern true for any division expression? Consider 7/8 divided by 3/4, which can be rewritten as 7/8 over 3/4. And that is still 7/8 divided by 3/4 because remember the fraction bar is also division. So multiply the numerator and denominator by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. So we have 7/8 times 4/3 over 3/4 times 4/3. And if we break out the math in the denominator, 3/4 times its reciprocal of 4/3 equals 1. So we can rewrite our fraction as 7/8 times 4/3 over 1. And if we simplify that, we can just get rid of the denominator of 1 and 7/8 times 4/3. So 7/8 divided by 3/4 equals 7/8 times 4/3. And these examples suggest the following rule. Divide by fractions. In words, to divide by a fraction, multiply by its multiplicative inverse or its reciprocal. Those are the same thing. Multiplicative inverse is the same as reciprocal. Examples, 7/8 divided by 3/4 equals 7/8 times 4/3, which we proved above. And in algebraic terms, a over b divided by c over d equals a over b times d over c. Notice that d over c is reciprocal of c over d, where b, c, and d are not equal to 0. And the reason for that is remember that you can't have 0 in the denominator. That would be undefined. So if any of those terms were 0, this would not work. Divide by a fraction. Find 3/4 divided by 1/2, write in simplest form. So 1 divided by 1/2 equals 2. That's our estimate. And then how many groups of 1/2 are in 1? How many groups of 1/2 are in 1? 1/2 divided by 1/2 equals 2. So let's look at the problem again. 3/4 divided by 1/2. Multiply the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. So if we change 3/4 divided by 1/2 to 3/4 times 2 over 1, we get, we'll simplify first. So we'll simplify 2 and 4 by its GCF of 2. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. This will make our multiplication easier, especially when we get into bigger numbers. Then if we multiply that out, we just simply multiply across. So we multiply the numerators 3 times 1, and we multiply the denominators 2 times 1. And then if we rewrite the improper fraction as a mixed number, we get 1/2. Check for reasonableness. 1/2 is approximately 2. We can say that. 1/2 would round up to 2. So check your progress, divide by a fraction. Find 3/4 divided by 1/4, write in simplest form. So 3/4 divided by 1/4, we're going to multiply, we're going to take the reciprocal of 1/4 and change the division to multiplication. So we have 3/4 times 4 over 1. And we can divide 4 and 4 by their greatest common factor of 4. So we'll divide that 4 by 4, get 1. That 4 by 4, get 1. And if we now multiply across, 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. And if we simplify that, we get 3. Check your progress. Find 4/5 divided by 8/9, write in simplest form. 4/5 divided by 8/9. We will take the division, change it to multiplication of its reciprocal. So 4/5 times 9/8. And if we simplify 4 and 8, 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 8 twice. That looks like all we can do. So now we'll multiply across. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 5 is 10. 9/10. That should be simplest form. Find 5/6 divided by 2/3. So we are going to change the division to multiplication, and we will multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3. So we will get 5/6 times 3/2. And if we simplify this, we can simplify 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 6 twice. We multiply across, we get 5/4. And if we simplify that to a mixed number or change that to a mixed number, we get 1 1/4. What's the first thing you have to do to divide by a mixed number? Can we divide by a mixed number? Can we divide a mixed number at all? We need to rename the mixed number as an improper fraction. What's the next thing you need to do to divide by two fractions? Multiply the first fraction by the inverse or reciprocal of the second fraction. Divide by a mixed number. Find 2/3 divided by 3 1/3, right, in the simplest form. So we have 2/3 divided by 3 1/3, and we have to switch that mixed number into an improper fraction. So 2/3 divided by 10/3. So we get that by 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And now we have to switch the division problem into multiplication. So to do that, we multiply by the reciprocal of 10/3. So 2/3 times 3/10. And now we can simplify. We can divide 2 out of 2 and 10. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Then we can simplify the 3's, dividing both by 3. And now we can multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. And that is simplified. Divide 5 divided by 1 1/3, then write in simplest form. So 5 divided by 1 1/3. When dividing and multiplying whole numbers with fractions, turn the whole number into an improper fraction. So example, 5 equals 5/1. So we have two things we have to do now. So the first thing, we create the improper fraction with 5, make that 5/1. And then we have to convert 1 1/3 into an improper fraction. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4, so we get 4 in the numerator. And now if we multiply, in order to divide 5/1 divided by 4/3, we need to actually multiply by the reciprocal of 4/3. So it's 5/1 times 3/4. And then we can multiply across. There's nothing to simplify. 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 4 is 4. So we get 15/4. And we can change that back to a mixed number. 3 3/4. 4 goes into 15 3 times, and it leaves a remainder of 3. So that's how we get that. Find -3/4 divided by 1 1/2, right in the simplest form. So we have -3/4 divided by 1 1/2, and we need to rename 1 1/2 as an improper fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, gives us 3 in the numerator. So now we have -3/4 divided by 3/2. And now in order to solve this, we have to multiply by the inverse or reciprocal of 3/2, which is going to be 2/3. So now we have -3/4 times 2/3. And if we simplify this, we can simplify or cancel out the 3's. And then we can take care of anything by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And now we can multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Remember, we have that negative, so it's going to be a negative. There's one negative. It's an odd number, right? So the answer is a negative. Or the product is a negative. Check your progress. Divide by a mixed number. So we have 2 1/3 divided by 5. So we're actually dividing by a whole number, but we're dividing a mixed number by a whole number. So we have to convert both of those into improper fractions. So 2 1/3 becomes 7/3 because 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And then to turn the whole number 5 into a improper fraction, all we have to do is put it over 1. Now we need to multiply by the reciprocal of 5/1, which is 1/5. So 7/3 times 1/5. And then we can multiply, because there's nothing here, we can simplify. So we get 7/15, and that is in its reduced form. Nuts and planning for a party. 5 1/4 pounds of cashews will be divided into 3/4 pound bags. How many bags can be made? So we're going to divide 5 1/4 divided by 3 1/4, or not 3 1/4, 3/4. Sorry about that. And the first thing we need to do is convert 5 1/4 into an improper fraction. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21, divided by 3/4. And now we're going to multiply times the reciprocal of 3/4. So we have 21 over 4 times 4/3. And now we can simplify the 4's, 1 and 1. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 4 once. And then we can simplify 21 and 3, because 3 goes into 21 7 times, 3 goes into 3 1 time. And then we have 7 over 1. And if we simplify that, we have 7 bags. Real world example. Woodworking. Students in a woodworking class are making butterfly houses. The side pieces of the house need to be 8 1/4 inches long. How many side pieces can be cut from a board measuring 49 1/2 inches long? So to find out how many side pieces can be cut, divide 49 1/2 by 8 1/4. So we have 49 1/2 divided by 8 1/4, and we need to convert both of those mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 49 times 2 is 98, plus 1 is 99. We have 8 times 4 is 32, plus 1 is 33. Now we need to multiply by the reciprocal of 33 over 4. So 99 over 2 times 4 over 33. And we can simplify common factors. So 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 2 once. 33 goes into 99 3 times, 33 goes into 33 1 time. Now we can multiply across. We get 6 over 1, and we can simplify that to 6. So 6 side pieces can be cut. Check your progress. Food. Suppose a small box of cereal contains 12 2/3 cup of cereal. How many 1 1/3 cup servings are in the box? To find how many servings are in a box, divide 12 2/3 by 1 1/3. So we have 12 2/3 divided by 1 1/3. We need to convert both those mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 12 times 3, 36, plus 2 is 38. So we get 38 over 3. And then for 1 1/3, 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4, so we get 4/3. Now we need to, in order to solve this, we need to multiply 38 1/3 by the reciprocal of 4/3. So it's going to be 38 over 3 times 3 over 4. Now we can simplify. So we will divide 3 by 3 and get 1, and 3 by 3 to get 1. Then we will divide 38 by 2, and we get 19. And if we divide 4 by 2, we get 2. And now we can multiply that out. 19 times 1 is 19. 1 times 2 is 2. And if we simplify that or convert that back to a mixed number, we get 9 1/2. Measurement, the area of a rectangle bedroom is 146 7/8 square feet. If the width of the bedroom is 11 3/4 feet, find the length. Remember that area equals length times width. So we can plug in what we know, and we know the area and we know the length, or we know the width. So we can divide the area by the width to get the length. So we're going to rename the mixed numbers as improper fractions. So we'll take the word for it that 146 7/8 converts to 1,175 over 8. And then 11 3/4. 11 times 4 is 44, plus 3 is 47. So we get 47/4. Now we need to multiply 1175 over 8 times the reciprocal of 47 over 4. So we're going to get 1175 over 8 times 4 over 47. And now we can divide out common factors. So 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 2 twice. And apparently 47 goes into 1175 25 times. You would have been allowed to use a calculator there. And then 47 goes into 47 once. We multiply that across. 25 times 1 is 25. 2 times 1 is 2. 25 over 2. And if we convert that back to a mixed number, we get 12.5. Additional examples. Find 2 1/3 times 4, divided by 4/9. So we need to multiply 2/3 by the reciprocal of 4/9. So we get 2/3 times 9 over 4. And we can simplify the 3's and we can simplify the 2's, and we get 1 times 3 over 1 times 2, or 3/2. And if we convert that to a mixed number, we get 1.5. Find 5/6 divided by 2.5. Write in simplest form. So 5/6 divided by 2/2, we need to convert, 2 and 1/2. We need to convert 2.5 to an improper fraction. So we get 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 in the numerator. So we get 5/6 divided by 5/2. Now we need to multiply by the reciprocal of 5/2, which is going to be 2/5. 5/6 times 2/5. And we can simplify. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6 3 times, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 5 once. We get 1 times 1 over 3 times 1, which is 1/3. A bottling machine needs to be restocked with new lids every 2 3/4 hours. If the machine runs 19 1/4 hours, how many times will it have to be restocked with lids? So we take the whole, 19 1/4, and we're going to divide it by 2 3/4. We have 2 mixed numbers, so we need to convert both of those to improper fractions. So that becomes 76 over 4 divided by 11 over 4. And now to solve this, we need to multiply 76 over 4 times the reciprocal of 11/4. So we get 76 over 4 times 4 over 11, and we can do some simplifying. 4's go into each other once, and then we can multiply. We get 76 over 11, and now we can convert that to a mixed number. It's 6 10/11. The machine needs to be restocked approximately 7 times. There is your homework for tonight. Please go over to Google Classrooms to submit it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you in class.